everyone, and welcome to this new After Effects tutorial. So today I will be teaching you guys how to make a smooth basic transition from scratch. However, before getting into it, I would like to point out the fact that if you've been using After Effects for quite a while, if you're not a beginner, then you may find this video a little bit too basic, but that doesn't mean you can't learn anything. I also think it is very important to mention that there are a lot of different ways of creating After Effects transitions, but today I will be teaching you this one because I think it's the best, and you will see why it is the best when we are actually doing it. Okay, so the first thing you need to do in order to start editing your videos is creating a new composition. So in order to create a new composition, you go to this little icon here, which looks like a painting, and you left click on it. So once you left click on that icon, this window pops out. So within this window you get to decide the attributes of your composition. You don't need to stress much about it because you can change this anytime you want throughout the editing process. So far I'm just going to change the name to Principal Composition. This is the size of it, photograms per second, and the duration. I think this duration of 19 seconds is fine, but you can adjust it depending on the project you're working on. Okay, so we already created our composition, and once we have done that, what we need to do is we need to fill it, because as you can see, when you create a composition, it is completely blank, it is void. So we need to fill it with footage. In this case, I already got my clips ready, so I'll be using these two clips, which are already cropped and got ready for the video before. Now the way to proceed is pretty simple. You simply go to your composition and drag your footage on it like that. So once you drag it in, you see the video here, and you gotta decide what part of it you want and what part of it you don't want. So in this case I want the part until the screen goes black, so it is exactly this frame. In order to crop it, we simply press Ctrl plus Shift plus D like that, and the delete key to delete the highlighted part, which we don't want. And we proceed the same way with the second clip. We place it right next to it, and we see that in this case I want the clip to last until she kind of raises her head up, like until this frame. So we do the same thing, Ctrl plus Shift plus D, and we crop it. We delete the part that we don't want. What we do is we add something called the adjustment layer. So an adjustment layer is something that you will use a lot if you get into editing, and what it basically does, it creates a layer that receives all the effects that will apply to all the layers that are underneath that adjustment layer. I know it sounds a bit weird, I know it sounds not intuitive at all, but once you see how it works, you'll understand it pretty easily. So in order to create an adjustment layer, we can either press Ctrl plus Alt plus Y on the keyboard and the adjustment layer appears, or you can also go to Layer, New, Adjustment Layer, and it generates like that. Okay, so once we got our adjustment layer ready, what we need to do is we need to focus on the effects. And what effect do I want to apply now? Well, I want to apply a zoom in effect in both the first clip and the second one, so that we have a motion effect and the overall transition looks smoother. So in order to do that, I want to go to the end of the first clip on the left by pressing O on the keyboard, and now I split the adjustment layer right there, like so. So this adjustment layer on the left will affect the clip that is underneath it, and the right one will affect the clip that is underneath it. So let me crop it again, as always by pressing Ctrl plus Shift plus D to get rid of the part that we want to use. And now what I want to create is I want to create a zoom in effect that goes from the beginning to the end, as I mentioned. So in order to do that, we need to go to the effects tab, which is on the right side, and simply type in transform, which is a plugin that we will use, and it basically allows us to play with the setting of the clip that is underneath the adjustment layer. For example, if I change the scale here to 200, you can see it zooms in to 70 or so. You see it zooms out. There are other parameters that we can play with, but in this video I want to keep it simple. So what I want to do now is to create a subtle scale up effect that goes from the beginning to the end of the clip. Now in order to go to the beginning of the clip, we hit I on the keyboard, and that takes us to the start of it. And now we go to this stopwatch that is right next to scale, and that stopwatch allows us to create a keyframe. So that is basically for modifying the value of the scale over time. Now we hit U on the keyboard to see the keyframe, and there we see that little symbol there. Now we go to the end of the clip by pressing O on the keyboard like that, and we change the scale value to 130, so it zooms in. like that. And now as you can see guys, there's a subtle scale up effect that will help this whole transition to look way smoother. After that we simply repeat the process with the second adjustment layer. So again we go to FX transform and we drag it in. We press I on the keyboard and hit the stopwatch on the scale, press O to go to the end of the clip and change it to 130. So once we got both clips scaled up, we need to fix the amount of scale we're doing, because as you can see the zoom isn't really smooth. So in order to make both scale ups smoother, what we need to do is we need to graph edit those values. So if you want to access the graph editor, you need to press U to see the keyframe like that, select both keyframes, press F9 to easy use them, and now go to this little window here that says graph editor. You click on it and you just copy me here. So now as you can see the zoom is a bit more natural, it feels smoother like that. And we basically do the same thing for the second clip. So F9 and we hit the graph editor and reproduce the same graph like that. Just copy me, because the graph editor, even though it's really powerful tool, it is quite hard to understand at the beginning. So just copy what I'm doing and you'll get used to it as you practice more and more. So now as you can see we got a subtle scale up effect in both clips, but we didn't get our transition yet. As you can see that is not smooth. So in order to create a smooth transition we need to create another adjustment layer by pressing Ctrl plus Alt plus Y. Again we divide it in between them by pressing O on the keyboard, dividing them, and this time we'll make it smaller. So let's say this length, and the process is the same. We go to the FX tab, we drag in transform, we hit I on the keyboard to go to the beginning, we hit the stopwatch on scale, then we go to the end of the clip by pressing O on the keyboard and we scale it up to 210. You can scale it up as much as you want depending on your clip, but I think 210 is fine for me. It looks like that. It's a way more aggressive scale up, but it doesn't look smooth. So again, in order to make it look smooth, we need to easy ease them with the graph editor. So we hit U on the keyboard, select both, press F9 on the keyboard, and we go to the graph editor. Now this time you need to copy me again. So what I'm doing is I'm creating this smooth yet fast transition. Just copy what I just did. And as you can see, it looks way smoother now, like so. Still, we need to fix the second part of it. So to finish the transition, we need to repeat the same process as before. We divide the second part of the adjustment layer, like that, more or less. Now we add transform again. We hit O on the keyboard. We hit the stopwatch again to create a keyframe. We go to the beginning of the clip, and this time instead of making it to scale up, we'll scale it down. Like so. And you see these black borders appear? That happens because this frame is this big. So in order to make it bigger, we need to add an effect called the motion tile. So again, we go to the FX tab and we search for motion tile. There we go. And we need to place it on top of the transform plugin. Otherwise it won't do anything. So what motion tile does, it creates a bigger frame around the frame that we already have. We change these two settings to around 300 and we click on this reflect borders button here. Now as you can see, the transition isn't smooth yet because we need to easy ease them, but it looks way better like that. Now the last part of the process is basically again going to the graph editor. So we select both frames as we've done 4 times already. Hit F9 on the keyboard. We go to the graph editor and this time copy me again guys. We need to make a shape like this. I think it should be fine like this. So this is the final result of our transition from beginning to end. As you can see, it is looking pretty smooth and clean, but there's one thing you can do to make it look way smoother and way cleaner. And it's really easy. So you basically just need to go to this little symbol here. So that is called motion blur, and what it does, it basically creates blur around this plate when the pixels are moving. So it is a really powerful After Effects plugin. So just click on that little symbol to enable them and it looks really smooth now. So that is all for today's video guys. I really hope you learned a little bit how to make transitions. This is a matter of repeating 1,000 times until you got it. Remember that a really good way of improving your designs is to look at them. So I've recently been posting a lot of edits on After Effects that you can check. Also, if you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel and maybe share it with someone that wants to learn how to do this kind of transitions too. Leave a like if you are happy with the result, and if you have any question or doubt about the video, I'll be more than happy to answer you if you leave your comment down below. So yeah, I think that's it. Remember to always spread love around you and have a great day.